A particle is moving with constant speed in a circular path. When the particle turns by an angle 90 degree, the ratio of the instantaneous velocity to its average velocity is pi is to x by root 2. The value of x will be. Okay, so what's given to us here is an object in circular motion. It's moving in constant speed. So let us say it starts from here, from A, and turns by an angle 90 degree, which means it has covered this much path, right? And this is 90 degree. This is position B. The ratio of instantaneous velocity to its average velocity is pi is to x by root 2. Okay. So we know that instantaneous velocity by average velocity would be equal to, see, since the object is moving with a constant speed, we know that the angular speed would be equal to omega r. So the velocity instantaneous is omega r omega. Now what is average velocity? Average velocity would be equal to the total displacement, right? The total displacement from where? From A to B upon the time taken to reach B from A. So this is omega r the whole upon total displacement by total time taken. Now if we consider the triangle, AOB, if you consider the triangle AOB, we have the dimension as r because it's moving in a circle. So this is r. So by Pythagoras theorem, we have this AB as root 2 into r, right? Now what is AB? AB here is the shortest distance, or in other words, AB is the displacement. So what we have here is omega r the whole upon, what is total displacement? The displacement here is root 2 times r the whole upon time to cover AB. Now let us see the time taken to cover AB. So what we have here is the formula. Displacement is equal to, not displacement is equal to, velocity is equal to, right? So we have velocity is equal to displacement by time. So angular velocity omega is equal to angular displacement by time, and therefore time is equal to angular displacement by omega. What is the angular displacement? Since the object has covered 90 degrees, the angular displacement is pi by 2. So we have t is equal to pi by 2 the whole divided by omega, and therefore t is equal to pi by 2 omega, right? Now if it's pi by 2 omega, what do we write here? We write here time required for AB, we write it as pi by 2 omega. So in short, what we have here is omega r the whole upon root 2 into r. So now pi by 2 omega, I can take this as by pi. Okay, so we have a by, okay, wait, now I'm getting confused with the fraction here. But it is omega r the whole upon, okay, right? So we have root 2 r by pi into 2 omega. Now let's see, omega by omega is 1, r by r is 1. So all what we have here is 1 by 2 root 2 the whole upon pi, which is therefore equal to pi by 2 root 2. And what is given to us in the question? The question says it is equal to pi is to x by root 2. So pi by x root 2 is given to us. So if we compare these two, what do we get? We get that the value of x is 2. Therefore the correct option is option 1, 2. Given below are two statements. Assertion: when a body is projected at an angle 45 degree, its range is maximum. Reason: for the maximum range, the value of sine 2 theta should be equal to 1. See, this question I would say is definitely not of the JEE mains, the JEE main standard. I'm sorry to say this, JEE main level. It is definitely, it's a relatively easy question. So let us try to understand what's given. So what the assertion says that range is equal to range max when theta is equal to 45 degrees. And the reason says that for maximum range, the value of sine theta. So if for the maximum range, so when r is equal to r max, the value of sine 2 theta should be equal to 1 is being said in the equation, right? So how will you find this out? So what is range r is equal to? R is equal to u square sine 2 theta the whole upon u square sine 2 the whole upon g. So if r is equal to u square sine 2 theta by g, for a given, for say for a constant velocity, and varying angle of projections and varying theta, varying angle of projections, r is equal to, say, okay, let me write it once again. So r is equal to u square by g into sine 2 theta. Now see, u square is a constant, g is a constant, so constant by constant, r, we have r is equal to constant by constant is another constant k into sine 2 theta, which means r is proportional to sine 2 theta, which means r would be maximum when sine 2 theta is maximum. Now the value of sine x, the maximum value of sine x is equal to 1, which means the maximum value of, instead of x, we have here sine 2 theta. So sine 2 theta max would be equal to 1. And what is 1? 1 can be written as sine 90. So we have here that sine 2 theta is equal to sine 90, which means 2 theta is equal to 90, and therefore theta is equal to 90 by 2, which is 45 degrees, and therefore assertion is correct. And if theta is equal to 45 degree, what is sine 2 theta? Sine 2 theta becomes sine into 2 into 45 degrees, which is equal to sine 90, which is again equal to 1. So reason is also correct, right? Now let us go through the options. So the option says, wait, what is okay, right? So now we have the options. We have both assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion, because when sine 2 theta is equal to 1, what happens is the maximum value of sine 2 theta is taken, and therefore r becomes equal to r max, which means the correct option is option 3. A child of mass 5 kg is going round a merry-go-round that makes one rotation in 3.14 seconds. The radius of the merry-go-round is 2 meters. The centrifugal force on the child would be. We know that the centrifugal force, F centrifugal force, is equal to, this is centrifugal. So we have m into omega square into r. Right? What's given to us? We've been given that the mass is 5 kilograms, so m is known. Our radius is 2 meters, so r is known. Now what we don't know is omega. So we can write that required F is equal to m into r into omega square, right? Into omega square. Now what is omega? See, we know that time period is equal to 2 pi by omega. So what is omega is equal to? Omega is equal to 2 pi by t. Now what is omega square? Omega square will be 2 pi the whole square by t square, which is 4 pi square by t square. So we have mr into 4 pi square by t square. Now what is m? M is the given mass, which is 5 kilogram. What is radius? Is it in meter? Yeah, radius is 2 meter. So 5 kilogram into 2 meter into 4 pi square by t square. What is t? Makes one rotation in 3.14 seconds, which means the time period is equal to 3.14 seconds, which is the value of pi, and therefore we can write this as t square can be replaced as pi square, right? So if t is equal to 3.14 seconds, which means that t is equal to 5, which means t square is equal to pi square. Now pi square by pi square is 1, 5 into 2 is 4, 5 into 2 is 10, 10 into 4 is 40. So the answer is 40 Newton, which means option, so the correct option is option 2. Two projectiles A and B are thrown with velocities of 40 meter per second and 60 meter per second at angles 30 and 60 with a horizontal respectively. The ratio of their ranges is. Okay. So what we have here is two projectiles. See, the moment you see 30 and 60, you may take 30 plus 60 is equal to 90 and then assume RA minus RB. No, that doesn't work here because this is not one projectile. These are two different projectiles. So RA and RB is what we have, right? RA and RB. So what is RA? RA will be UA square sine 2 theta A by G, and what is RB will be UB square sine 2 theta B the whole upon G. In which case, what is RA by RB is equal to, so RA by RB will be equal to UA square upon UB square into sine 2 theta A by sine 2 theta B, which is equal to. So what is theta? What is UA? UA is 40 meter per second square. So we have 40 square upon, what is UB? It is 60 meter per second square. So we have got 60 square times sine 2 theta A. So sine 2 into, what is theta A? Theta is given to be 30. So it is sine 2 30 the whole upon sine 2 60. This could further be written as 40 square by 60 square can be written as 4 square by 6 square into sine 2 30 is 60, sine 260 is sine 120. Now see, I would do this like this. So we have sine 120 can be written as sine 90 plus theta, right? So what is sine 90 plus theta? It is cos theta. So we have cos 90 plus 30 as, sorry, sine 90 plus 30 as cos 30. Now what is cos 30 otherwise equal to? Cos 30 is equal to sine 60. So instead of sine 120 here, what can I write? I can write here cos 30. Now we know that cos 30 is equal to sine 60. So this will become 1. So all what you get is 16 by 36, which is equal to 4 by 9, giving the correct option as option 1. The trajectory of a projectile projected from the ground is given by y is equal to x minus x square by 20, where x and y are measured in meter. The maximum height attained by the projectile would be. I think this is a very typical question asked in the previous year as well. So let's see how to solve this question. So given to us that y is equal to x minus, right? X minus x square by 20, I'll write it as 1 by 20 into x square. Okay. Now comparing this with the standard equation of the trajectory of the projectile, we have y is equal to x into tan theta minus 5 by ux square into x square, right? So if you compare these two equations here, what can we infer? We can say here that the coefficient of x is 1 here, the coefficient of x is tan theta, which means the coefficient should be equal, and therefore tan theta is equal to 1. So writing it down first, so we have tan theta is equal to 1. Similarly, coefficient of x square is equal to 1 by 20, x square is 5 by x square, which means, wait, negative sign, negative, negative. So we have 1 by 20 is equal to 5 by ux square, right? Now, if 1 by 20 is 5 by ux square, what is ux square equal to? Ux square is equal to 5 into 20, which is 100. And what is ux? Ux is u cos theta the whole square. Therefore, u square cos square theta is equal to 100. And therefore, u cos theta is equal to 10. Now, have a look here. Tan theta is equal to 1. I can write it like this. U sin theta the whole upon u cos theta is equal to 1. And therefore, we can say that u sin theta is equal to u cos theta. So if u cos theta is equal to 10, what is u sin theta? U sin theta would also be equal to 10. But this has not been asked in the question. The question is to find out the maximum height. So what is the maximum height? We know that height is given by u square sine square theta by 2g. So we have h is equal to, now what is u sin theta? It is 10. So this becomes u square sine square theta becomes u sin u sine theta the whole square, the whole upon 2g. What is u sine theta? It is 10 from here. So we have 10 square the whole upon 2g, which is equal to 100 by 2 into 10 is 20. So 100 by 20 is 10. Sorry, 100 by 20 is 5. So the correct option is option 3, 5 meters. Now, trying to do this in one more way, using the approach of mathematics, only because we're doing in JEE mains. See, if a function is given to us y is equal to f of x, then if the function assumes the maximum value, we can say that the primary condition should be that the first derivative is equal to 0, right? And we know the condition for maxima minima. So the primary condition for maximum minima in both cases should be in either case should be actually that f dash x equal to 0. Now if f dash x equal to 0, what is f of x here? F of x is actually x minus x squared upon 20. So what is f dash x? F dash x will be equal to 1 minus 2x by 1 minus 2x by 20. Now if f dash x is equal to 0, it means that 1 minus 2x by 20 is equal to 0, and therefore 1 is equal to 2x by 20, which implies x is equal to 10. And if x is equal to 10, what is the value of y? See, what is y? First of all, y is, say for example, if you consider the projectile axis like this, so when an object is projected with velocity u, it follows a parabolic trajectory, something that we know, and every point on this trajectory is x comma y, right? Every point on this trajectory is x comma y, where x represents the horizontal displacement and y represents the vertical displacement. Now that y in terms of x is given to be y is equal to x minus x squared by 20. So what would be y at x equal to 5? Sorry, x at x equal to 10. It would be 10 minus 10 square by 20, which is equal to 200 minus 10 square is 100. 100 by 20. 200 minus 100 is 100. 100 by 20 is 5. Again, the option is option 5. Right, so one question, two different ways of looking at it. One with the pure physical way, and the other would be the mathematical approach. The range of the projectile projected an angle of 15 degree with the horizontal projectile is projected with the same velocity at an angle of 45 degree. With the same velocity at an angle of 45 degree with the horizontal, then its range would be. So if we were to do this question, it's a very simple question, I would say. So say we have R1 is equal to u square by g into sine 2 theta 1, and what would be corresponding R2? R2 would be equal to, oh, so you is that u1? No, since the same velocity, it's u. So u square by g into sine 2 theta 2. Now if you were to divide R1 by R2, what do you get? What we get is R1 by R2 is equal to u square by g upon u square by g is 1. So this is equal to sine 2 theta upon sine 2 theta 2, which means what is R2? R2 will be equal to sine 2 theta 2 upon sine 2 theta 1 times R1, right? Cross multiplying this. So what we get is R2 is equal to, how much is sine 2 theta 2? Theta 2 is 45 degrees, so sine 2 45 degree, sine 2 times 45 degree whole upon sine 2 theta 1 is 15 degree, so sine 2 into 15 degree into R1 is given to be 50 meter. So we have got R2 is equal to sine 90, right? Sine 90 by sine 30 into 50, which is equal to 1 by 2 into 50, which is equal to 50 into 2 for 100 meters, which gives us the correct option as option 1. Two projectiles are projected at 300 and 600. Are projected at 300 and 600. Oh, okay. This is 30 degrees and my bad. It's 30 degree and 60 degrees. With the horizontal with the same speed, the ratio of the maximum height attained by the two projectiles respectively is, okay, straightforward question. So what is h1? So what is h? H is u square sine square theta the whole upon g. So we got h1 is equal to, wait, at same speed, so let's stick to u. So u square sine square theta 1 by g. h2 is equal to u square sine square theta 2 by g. Now when you divide these two, equations, what you get is h1 upon h2 is equal to sine square theta 1 upon sine square theta 2. What is theta 1? It is 30, so we got sine square 30 the whole upon sine square 60. So what is sine square 30? It is 1 by 2 the whole square. What is sine square 60? It is root 3 by 2 the whole square. So what we get is 1 by 4 into 4 by 3, which is equal to 1 by 3, which gives the correct option as option 4. Now, so if you see this, if you observe well, almost every question in this session, the April session of motion in a plane, is very direct. It's, I would say, is not that not so high at the difficulty level. But yes, these problems become easy. I could do this in less than two minutes. Maybe you can do it in less than 10 seconds, because I'm reading the question, I'm writing the explanation as well. Won't take much time for doing it in the exam situation. But having said that, we also need to understand that the time limit we set for JEE mains was 2 minutes, right? So we are very well within the 2 minutes, even when we do the question, when we try solving the question with this level of clarity in it. Okay, anyways, so we're done with the question number 7. Now let's move on to question number 8. So again, we have projectile motion, time taken. Okay, so now we got interesting questions coming up. Maybe at least for this question. Question number 8. A projectile fired at 30 degrees to the ground is observed to be at same height at time 3 seconds and 5 seconds after projection during its flight. The speed of projection of the projectile is. Okay. See, this is what I was mentioning a couple of seconds back. This is a really good question. Unlike the first 7 questions, which were very basic for a JEE mains, this actually is relevant with respect to the, I would say this serves purpose to the to the JEE mains exam. So let us first try to understand the concept here. Okay, so I'm deviating from the 2-minute target. Why, I'll tell you. So say this is the ground, okay, and an object is projected with velocity v at an angle theta. Now we know that the path of the object would be, the trajectory would be what? Would be parabolic in nature. Let us assume that it is at these two heights that the object is at the same height from the ground, and let us name that height as h. Okay, height as h. All right. Now what we'll do is we will try to, okay, so it is given that the same height at 3 seconds and 5 seconds. So for the time being, I'll consider this much time to be t1 seconds, okay, and to reach this position, so say from A and B is same position, so time to reach B is t2, okay, so time to reach A is t1 and time to reach B is t2, and height at A is h, height at B is also equal to h, right? So this is what we have. Now let us find out what is height at A. See, what is the equation for height at A? Height at A is actually the vertical displacement, right? Height at A is actually the vertical displacement, where vertical displacement at position A. Now what is the formula for vertical displacement? Let us write down that first. So we have S is equal to ut plus half at square, right? Now for the vertical motion, what is S is equal to? S is equal to Sy, displacement in the vertical direction, u is equal to u sine theta and a is equal to minus g. So if we substitute these values here, what do we get? S is equal to sy is equal to u sine theta into t plus half into minus g into t square. Now, what is the actual value of sy here? Sy is the vertical displacement, right? So this is the vertical displacement. What we have here is the vertical displacement, and that value is given to be h, which means I can write here h is equal to, right? H is equal to u sine theta into t, u sine theta into t plus minus g by 2 into t square. Now let me try to rearrange this equation in the form of a proper quadratic one, which would look something like this. Which would look g by 2 into, right, g by 2 into t square minus u sine theta into t plus h is equal to 0. Okay, why did I write it like this way? Because we know if the equation, if the roots of the quadratic equations of the form ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 in terms of x, if the equation is here is in terms of x, and if the equation is in terms of x, then we know that if alpha and beta are the roots of the equation, if alpha and beta are the root of the equation, then what is alpha plus beta is equal to? Alpha plus beta is equal to minus b by a, right? Now this is very basics of class 11th quadratic equation, right? Class 11th quadratic equations. Let us make use of that application here. So this equation given to us is in terms of t, and instead of alpha and beta, let us assume that the roots of the equations are t1 and t2. In which case, what would be alpha plus beta? Alpha plus beta would be t1 plus t2, which here would be equal to minus b by a. Let us now find out what is minus b. So have a look here. G by 2 is a, right? So we have t corresponding x here. So what is b? B is u sine theta. Therefore, we can write here that t1 plus t2 is equal to minus, what is the value of b? B here is minus u sine theta, right? So let's write down here. So a is equal to g by 2, and what is b is equal to? B is equal to minus u sine theta. So applying these two in the equation, minus b by a becomes minus of minus u sine theta by a is g by 2. So this will give you 2u sine theta by g, which actually is equal to the time of flight. Therefore, we can say that t1 plus t2 is actually equal to the whole time t, right? T1 plus t2 is equal to whole time t. Now, if t1 plus t2 is equal to whole time t, from the given equation here, what do we have? T1 is given to us as 3 seconds, right? T1 is given to us 3 seconds and T2 is given to us as 5 seconds, which means T1 plus T2 is 3 plus 5 is equal to time of flight, which is given by the formula 2u sine theta the whole upon g, which implies 8 is equal to, or say 8 into 10 by 2 is equal to u into sine theta. Theta is given to be 30 degrees, so this is sine 30. Therefore, 5 into 8 is equal to u into what is sine 30? Sine 30 is 1 by 2, so 5 it's a 40, and therefore u is equal to 40 into 2, which is 80 meter per second, which gives us the correct option as, oh, it's some numerical question, so this is 80 meter per second. Now there is another way of looking at the question, which actually would be very simple, which goes like this. So this much is 3 seconds, right? And I'm sorry, my bad. So this much is 3 seconds, t1, and then from here we have total is 5 seconds, which means from 3 to 5, somewhere below, somewhere between this is 4, which means the maximum time for, the time to reach the maximum height is 4 seconds. Or in other words, the time of ascent is 4 seconds, and therefore time of descent will also be equal to 4 seconds, and therefore the total time of flight will be equal to 8 seconds, which will be equal to 2u sine theta upon g. Yes, you can proceed in this way as well. But then what you miss is this whole conceptual integration of quadratic equation into this projectile motion. That's a takeaway from this question. Anyway, having said so, let's move on to the next question, which is again based on components of velocity. Okay. A projectile is projected at 30 degrees from horizontal with initial velocity 40 meter per second. The velocity of the projectile at t is equal to 2 seconds from the start would be, right? So very simple question, straightforward, I would say. Well, not that straightforward, but yes, this question is basically evaluating your concepts on resolving the velocity into rectangular components. So we know that when an object is projected with velocity u at an angle theta, it will undergo a projectile motion, follow a parabolic trajectory, right? And here we've been asked to find out the velocity at t is equal to 2 seconds, maybe at this position. Okay. How will we start solving this question? By resolving the vector into 2. So if this is the velocity vector u at an angle theta, it means that it can be resolved in two directions, ux along the x direction and uy along the y direction, and therefore u will be equal to root of ux square plus uy square always. Okay. Now, once we have this, we can find out that ux is equal to u cos theta from the triangle, and uy is equal to u sine theta from the triangle, right? From this triangle. Okay. Now, if ux is equal to u cos theta and uy is equal to u sine theta, what is the given value of u here? Given value of u is 40 meter per second, and the given value of theta is 30 degree. Let us bring that here. So what is ux is equal to? Ux here will be equal to 40 into cos 30, which is equal to 40 into root 3 by 2, or 20 root 3. Next, what we have is uy, which is u sine theta. U is 40 into sine theta is sine 30. Therefore, it is 40 into 1 by 2, which is 20. I do understand that you may now be able to eliminate 40, or you're thinking, some other shortcut way to simplify these values. Please don't do that. It hardly take one more minute to do this. So ux, let me write down these two values again. So what is the value of ux? Ux we have it as 20 root 3, and what is uy? Uy we have it as 20. Now let us write down the equations of motion at t is equal to 2. So at t is equal to 2, we know that the body will have two different components of velocity. One would be vy and the other would be vx. Now what is the equation of motion for vy? Vy will be equal to uy plus at. What would be vx? Vx would be equal to ux plus at. Now uy plus ayt and ux plus axt. So now we know that for the projectile motion, the acceleration along the y direction is minus g, and there is no component of acceleration along the x direction, which means the term ax is equal to 0. Therefore, we don't have this term here. What is ay? Ay is minus g. So what would be vy? Vy would be equal to, what is ui? Uy from here is 20 plus, what is ay? Ay is minus g, which is equal to minus 10. So 20 into minus 10 into, we've been asked to find out at t is equal to 2 seconds, 20 into 2, and therefore vy is equal to 20 minus 20, which is equal to 0. Now, what is v is equal to? V is equal to root of Vx square plus Vy square, which is therefore equal to root of what is Vx square? Vx square is Vx is equal to Ux. So we have Ux square plus what is Vy? Vy is 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, root of Ux square, which is equal to Ux. And what is the value of Ux? Ux is 20 root 3. So we have 20 root 3. Therefore, the correct option is 20 root 3. A disc is rolling without slipping on a surface. The radius of the disc is r at t is equal to 0. The topmost point on the disc is A, as shown in the figure A. When the disc completes half of its rotation, the displacement of point A from its initial position is. Okay. So before we do this, okay, let me first explain you what the motion is here. So see, we have an object A here, okay, and what we see is the body A is rotating, right? The body A is rotating like this, or the circle is rotating like this, and slowly what we see is it reaches the diametrically opposite position by completing one rotation. Okay, sorry, not one rotation, but by completing half of its rotation. So what is that we've been asked to find out in the question is primarily the displacement. So this is the initial position, this is the final position. Therefore, don't you think this is the displacement, right? So this much is the displacement that we need to find out. This over here, this distance, let us say AA dash. Now it is very clear from the diagram that AA dash will actually be equal to the hypotenuse of this triangle, right? The hypotenuse of this triangle, say AB A dash. Now AB is something we know. If this is R, O, if this much is R, then this portion will also be equal to R. Or okay, let us not complicate things. Let us say that AB is the diameter, and since AB is the diameter, AB will be equal to 2 times radius, which is 2R. But what about A dash B? A dash B now becomes a question. To explain that, what I'll do is I'll draw the diagram again. So we have A here, right? Now let us assume that the object is moving towards the right. The object is moving towards it is slipping towards the right. So initially what will happen is, say A is here. After some time, A would be here, right? Maybe after some more time, A is here. And finally, when we stop observing this, A is over here. So which means initial position of A was moving along the circumference of the circle, right? Along the circumference, and then it reached the final destination. But even when it's reached the final destination, it is still along the circumference. And if you observe well, if it is started here, if it started at A, when it ends at A dash, what we need to understand is it has actually moved half of its circumference, right? So A dash is actually half of the circle's circumference, which means A dash is equal to half into 2 pi r, which is pi r. In which case, what is A dash B? Now we can write that A dash B, which is this distance, A dash B is actually pi r. So if we summarize the diagram, what we need to find out is A, B, A dash. What we need to find out is A dash, AB is 2R, B A dash is pi r. Therefore, A dash will be equal to root of 2R the whole square plus pi r the whole square, which is equal to root of 4R square plus pi square r square, which is equal to r into root of, right? R into root of 4 square plus pi square. Sorry, not 4 square. So it is equal to r root of 4 plus pi square, which gives us the correct option as option B.